Hello everybody, John12 back here again with another movie review, a part of the 13 Days of Dragon Ball Z, which now, for the second time, I'm going to have to retitle it the 12 Days of Dragon Ball Z, seeing as how, if you didn't notice, yesterday on Sunday, I was incapable of giving you the Dragon Ball Z review I'm doing today, which is unfortunate because, you know what, looking back at it, when this is said and done, I'm definitely gonna, next time going to try and do something like this, it's definitely gonna be pre-planned, and also I'm gonna pre-record everything, because this went so 180 from what I envisioned this thing would be, that it's almost laughable. But nonetheless, yesterday was Easter Sunday, so I hope everybody had a good Easter, I guess. I personally thought it was stupid. I mean, Easter Sunday, for me personally, if you're not a fucking Catholic, or you have kids, then Easter is pretty much pointless, and it's a stupid-ass holiday, next to all the other ridiculously stupid-ass holidays. But nonetheless, it's said and done, and today I give you another DBZ movie review, the 8th Dragon Ball Z feature film titled Dragon Ball Z Broly, the Legendary Super Saiyan. Now, this is hands down one of my favorite DBZ movies. It's definitely on top there, next to my number one. It's really fucking awesome. It's a badass movie. And this is one of the first movies since, I want to say, Tree of Might, where from beginning to end, it's hands down perfect. Like, granted, nothing's really perfect. It's all subjective, but for me personally, from beginning to end with this movie, it's just a solid fucking movie. It's fucking awesome. The action, the violence, the badassery, the music, the character, the villain, everything about this movie is just solid and badass. And because of its popularity with this specific movie, and the popularity of the character Broly, which is the main antagonist, hence the title, this spawned two more sequels titled Broly the Second Coming and Bio Broly, which a lot of people like to consider the worst of the DBZ movies. A lot of people like to say that the Broly trilogy got worse and worse through the sequels. But for me personally, as much as Bio Broly or Broly the Second Coming specifically aren't as good at this as this specific movie, I think they're still okay. They're still pretty decent, but I'll get to those in my reviews that I'll be doing for them later on. But nonetheless, let's talk a little bit about the main antagonist, which is, of course, Broly. Now, of course, this movie introduces another what-if character, which we haven't really gotten since Tree of Might, which is, what if there was this all-powerful Super Saiyan that was the greatest and strongest and most powerful of all the Super Saiyans? And that is, of course, Broly, the legendary Super Saiyan, who apparently was born with a power level that's over 10,000, essentially, and his power level when he was a small child, when he was a baby pretty much, was greater than most elite Saiyan warriors, including, you know, the royal family like King Vegeta and so on and so forth. So, of course, King Vegeta saw Broly as a threat to not only the Saiyan race, but of course his son, decides to execute the baby. And at the same time, simultaneously as this is going on, it also comes to factor that the same day that as the planet Vegeta was taking place, was being destroyed by Frieza. So on top of all this, this is the setup to Broly the Legendary Super Saiyan, where his great power was able to save himself and his father, Paragus, who plays the father of Broly, and then we just go on from there. That's pretty much what happens prior to the events of this movie, and Broly is just one of my favorite villains from the DBZ series. I mean, specifically the movie series. There's a lot of villains that I personally like. I mean, I like Turles, Lord Slug, Cooler was pretty awesome, but until this one, this specific movie, I never felt like a character deserved to be in this actual series more than this one character. Broly is such a sadistic, badass character, and he's also the first villain who's 100% a psychopath. He doesn't really care about anything, and anything around him is pretty much just whatever. He doesn't really care. His sole purpose in life is to destroy and murder and kill and defeat anything in his way, and he's all powerful. And specifically, I think the great thing was giving him the only real transformation. Like, it's not really a transformation, more or less, as it's just a power that he only can have, which I thought was really cool. Toriyama, of course, gave him this and Toei Animation gave him specifically this one specific power that none of the other Super Saiyans could really have. And I think one of the greatest things about it is that it not only is it just a power-up, but it also destroys and deforms his own body, where he loses everything. Like, he loses his mind, he loses all consciousness with reality. He's just specifically all about destruction and death. And he's just so demonic with what little he says and what little he does. He's just so angry and just, oh god, it's just so beautiful to see it. His character Broly is just awesome and badass. But nonetheless, a lot of things that I also love about this movie is the opening intro to this movie, which once again opens up with the Z Warriors on Earth having a good peaceful day, and you have Goku with Chi-Chi trying to enroll Gohan in a good school, which I also thought was pretty funny. You have the rest of the Z Warriors hanging out at the park, enjoying their time with Krillin doing karaoke, all this also funny shit. There's just a whole bunch of really awesomeness that happens within the beginning of this film, and then you move on from there where you get the introduction of Paragus with his with these, unknown kind of species, warrior kind of humanoid creatures. They're not really specifically known, nor do we ever actually see them without helmets, but we can guarantee that they're basically aliens who, under the leadership of Paragus, who is a Saiyan, who claims that, to Vegeta, that they have created a new planet, Vegeta, which they want him to become the new ruler and king of. So that's essentially what they're trying to do. But, unbeknownst to Vegeta and the rest of the Z Warriors, Paragus has a plan where the planet that he chose is just basically days away from being destroyed by a gigantic comet that's heading towards that specific planet that he's donned New Vegeta. Nonetheless, he also states that the only way that they continue to live in peace and have him be the real true king of this planet is if he defeats the Legendary Super Saiyan, which is basically running rampant through the galaxy, which of course King Kai has also referenced in the beginning of this film, where he notices that the Legendary Super Saiyan, who he does not know the identity of, has been destroying galaxies around Earth. So basically, Goku has to also accompany them. Everybody goes on this little road trip to find out who is the Legendary Super Saiyan. And then once you get into New Vegeta, things start getting awry. There's a whole bunch of weirdness. There are slaves. There's this alien race that are enslaved by Paragus and his army to develop new Vegeta. And essentially we get introduced to Broly, who really looks like a puny, like whatever kind of character. And I think the funny thing is that this is, as much as it is a Dragon Ball Z action flick, it's also a very good mystery, fantasy kind of storyline, because you have this portion of the movie where you have to discover who is the true Legendary Super Saiyan, where is he, what's his power, what's the meaning behind this planet, and what does this specific alien race have to do with the destruction of this planet. What's this comet? There's a whole bunch of what ifs, and there's a lot of what's going on kind of scenarios. And you have Trunks, who's future Trunks rather, the best of the Trunks, if you will, accompanied by other characters like Gohan and Krillin, try to unravel and discover the truth behind New Vegeta. But essentially, Vegeta, being under the brainwashed mentorship of Paragus, does not really want to see what Trunks, Gohan, and Krillin have come up with. And Goku basically tags along just as for, jokes and shits and giggles, if you will, which is pretty hysterical. And we move on to the realization that through flashbacks, which is also a really interesting thing, that we get multiple flashbacks through the past, where we get to see not only Broly is the true legendary Super Saiyan, but he's also had a very, very dark past, which I mentioned prior, and also he has a past with Goku, where Goku and Broly, based off this storyline, of course, it's not really canon to the basic storyline, where they were born on the same day, and essentially ever since then, because of Goku's, I guess, cries when he was a kid, Broly has always been angered and always hated Goku ever since then, just because he made him cry, which is hysterical. So ever since then, Broly has always had this resentment and hatred towards Goku, and you can see it through the way he stares at him, and the way, and even through Paragus' control over Broly. It cannot withstand the anger that he has within Goku, which of course explodes later on in the movie, where we have this entire amazing brawl and throwdown between Goku and the Z-Warriors versus Broly. But of course, through Broly revealing he is the true legendary Super Saiyan, there's no fucking way they're gonna fucking win. They're completely inferior in comparison to his power. The action is super on point. It's so badass. I mean, there's so much heat and damage that Broly takes in this movie throughout every single character, whether it be Super Saiyan Goku, Gohan, Future Trunks, Vegeta, even Piccolo tags along to try and fight in. None of them can impact Broly's power and body. He is just so dominant and superior in comparison to everyone, and there's so many instances where not even Goku can really take him down. He shoots out a legitimate Kamehameha wave at point blank range in his face. Still nothing. Can't take him down. Broly's a dominant force to be reckoned with. He's destroying the city. He's destroying the Z-Warriors, defeating them all one by one. It's so fucking amazing. The action is so on point with this movie. It's so fucking badass. And I think another great thing that comes into play is the music, where, once again, which we didn't really get with the prior movies like Super Android 13 or The Return of Cooler, we got a return to Funimation making up their own music, which I personally prefer. I know a lot of people are like, oh no, the Japanese version is better. And even though I like the Japanese version, I prefer an English version to the soundtrack. I just prefer a composer sitting down and creating their own music, which is why I prefer the original Dragon Ball Z series in comparison to Kai. And also, you have amazing bands that they chose for the soundtrack of this movie. And you gotta realize, it's really difficult to come up with these bands' music and having them use this. I mean, of course, back in the day it was kind of easy. I find it because of the DBZ popularity. But it will be very difficult to try and do that right now. Maybe it is still very easy because of the popularity, but you never know. I get the feeling that it could be harder. But nonetheless, the music and the bands, such great, amazing choices. You got freaking Slow Roosevelt, Pointy Shoe Factory, El Gato, oh my god, Panthera, which is, I like to consider the theme. Panthera's music is like the theme to Broly. That's the theme. Panthera is the theme to Broly. There it is. No other band really has a theme to a character in this movie other than Broly. Panthera is Broly. That's what I like to think. And that's just fucking icing on the cake. It's fucking amazing. Nonetheless, this movie just goes on with an epic brawl of biblical proportions. But of course, at the end of the day, Goku uses the power of his friends, which is of course the multiple other Z-Warriors, using it to try and defeat Broly, simultaneously as the comet is hitting the actual planet. And right before, of course, he defeats Broly, he escapes the planet's destruction with instant transmission, which, if I'm not mistaken, is the second time we've seen that technique in the movies. I think the first time was Return of Cooler, which I don't think was used successfully. But then again, we got to see it again used very successfully in Broly the Legendary Super Saiyan. Of course, it just has multiple other awesome plot traits that we've seen multiple times in these movies. Of course, like Goku using the power of his friends, Super Saiyan brawls, multiple character takedowns, all that kind of amazing plot traits. But I just love this movie. It's just such an amazing standalone movie that really deserved its own plot in the actual series. I just wish Toriyama really took the popularity and was like, okay, let's put it in the story. I mean, granted, by this point in time, you know, it couldn't have happened, but for the anime, why not? You know, I mean, I just still find it very hard to believe that out of every villain who's ever been in this series, from the movies, that Garlic Jr. was the only one to get his own actual arc in the series. I'm just saying, out of all the characters, I would have never thought of it. In looking in perspective. Nonetheless, this movie is so solid. It's a badass movie. I have to give it a 9 out of 10. It's so fucking good. It's amazing. The action is great. The character arcs are great. The mystery element is awesome. The animation's great. The art direction, the colors, the music, the soundtrack, the dub. Everything about this movie is just solid and badass. It just makes sense as to why they would have made multiple sequels to this movie, because it is a great, solid movie with a great, solid villain. And personally, I will be giving you, of course, my reviews for Broly's Second Coming and Bio Broly, but just as a quick spoiler or teaser, basically, I personally prefer Broly's Second Coming out of the two. I know a lot of people say, oh, both of them are shit. But I actually prefer Second Coming. It's definitely a solid movie. Bio Broly, there's no real way to say it nicer. It's a piece of crap, basically. But Second Coming is definitely decent. But of course, it all begins with the Legendary Super Saiyan, which is a solid, badass movie. And of course, the ending's always awesome, where we get back into Goku making a joke that was stated in the beginning of the movie, which of course, to Chi-Chi's anger and dismay, faints, and it's just awesome. And the music that plays afterwards is just awesome. And I love how the ending credits feature like these artistic, cartoonized storyboards, these canvases throughout the ending credits of this movie, which I actually like. I'm just saying, the art direction that went into this movie is just awesome. The characters that were introduced were amazing. They were well done, and every other character had its piece. A lot of people are like, oh no, the other characters of Z don't really matter, and they're not really done justice. This movie does justice to every character, and every character gets their part to actually have action into this movie. Even Master Roshi tries to help there for a second, which was hysterical in and of itself. But nonetheless, this is a 9 out of 10 for me. I love it. Is it my favorite movie of all time from the DBZ line? It's definitely right up there. It's an awesome watch. Fucking awesome movie. I highly prefer it. And of course, I forgot to mention this in the beginning, but if you use the timeline placement, personally, it definitely features Super Saiyan Gohan for the first time, and of course a long-haired Super Saiyan Trunks. So I have to say that this definitely takes place within the Cell sagas. It's somewhere in there. It's definitely either right before or during the Cell game saga. It's definitely right up there. But nonetheless, let me know in the comment section below what you personally thought about this movie. Did you like Broly? Did you like him as an antagonist? Did you like his storyline? Did you like his origin story? What did you think about it overall? Let me know what you personally think about the soundtrack, the story, everything about this movie. Let me know in the comment section below what you personally thought. I personally loved it. I personally still love it. It's hands down one of my favorites of all time with the DBZ movies. But of course, this review has come to an end. Let me know what you personally thought below in the comment section. Subscribe to my channel if you've not done so already. And this has been John 12.